Hello everyone! Today I'll tell you a story about the new characters from the Avatar World Halloween update. Let's start with a girl in a spider costume named Avery. Avery is a very talented girl. She does everything at once, plays the guitar, dances, does yoga, and much more. But her favorite activity is creating costumes. Avery created costumes not only for herself but also for her friends. They eagerly awaited Halloween each year to see in what amazing outfits she would appear before them. But let's talk about her friends later. Once, when Avery was still a child, she was very afraid of spiders. One day, she came home after school and saw a huge spider on the couch in her room and screamed in fear. In reality, it was quite a small spider, but the girl was very frightened. However, this spider was special. It could talk. A spider named Spider Webby promised Avery that he wouldn't bite her, and since then, they became best friends. Now, as it was time to prepare for Halloween, Avery thought long and hard about what she would wear this time. She went through various ideas until she suddenly remembered her spider friend. In that moment, she decided to make a spider costume in honor of her faithful friend, Spider Webby. Avery's friends were also eagerly waiting to find out in what costumes she would appear before them on Halloween. However, she did not just sew a spider costume, but also took Webby himself with her to the holiday. Webby was very happy to be able to celebrate Halloween with Avery, and he could also unravel a big web and climb on the ceiling to decorate it. As soon as she presented her spider costume, her friends were amazed by her creativity and skill. One night on the eve of Halloween, Avery decided to help decorate the classroom at school for this magical holiday. She and her loyal friend, Spider Webby, went to decorate the classroom. When Webby unfolded his web, they both realized that it didn't have the mystical atmosphere they expected, because Webby was alone. But then Webby came up with a great idea. He decided to invite all his spider friends to help. As if by magic, spiders of all the same sizes and colors appeared in a corner of the classroom. They carefully began to create their own cobwebs, which immediately transformed the classroom into a real Halloween world. As soon as they graduated, the classroom became a place of magic and mystery, where every cobweb was like a work of art. That's how Avery and Webby brought mystery and magic to the school classroom by decorating it. Well, now it's time to tell the story of the next character who became part of the Halloween update. This character is one of the scariest in this update, and now I'll tell you why. His name is Spike, and Avery made a skeleton costume for him. Spike was delighted with this costume, because now he could scare and make fun of the residents of the city. Deciding to test his skills in scaring, Spike went to a place where there are always a lot of people, to the mall. Spike chose a room with slot machines to implement his terrifying idea. He thought that when he entered there, everyone would be afraid of him, but it turned out quite the opposite. Spike looked very cute in this costume, and all the visitors, instead of being scared, laughed and admired Spike. He didn't like it at all, because Spike wanted to look scary, not cute, so he decided that he needed to come up with a frightening trick. Since he was wearing a skeleton costume, a great idea came to him. Spike will make a dummy bone out of paper, and will pretend to get real bones. With the help of this paper bone, Spike wanted to do a trick in which he seemed to get this bone out of his skeleton so that everyone would be scared. Spike returned to the store with his bone and performed this trick. All the visitors were horrified by what had happened, and Spike was very funny with their scared faces. Now Spike's costume was no longer laughed at because it was one of the scariest on Halloween, and Spike himself could now scare anyone with his terrifying trick. And so, now I'm going to tell you about the next Halloween character who didn't appear alone. This is the vampire Betty, and she is the queen of bats. You may ask, and with whom did she appear? I'll tell you now. One day Betty was walking in nature, when suddenly something seemed strange to her. In a small cave, she saw a real bat. It was a mouse named Betsy, and its peculiarity is that it is very big. Betty loved bats very much and was very glad to meet them. Betsy wasn't just a very big bat. When she opened her wings, the vampire's false teeth appeared. She made these for Betty to make her look even scarier. Betty and Betsy became best friends, and on Halloween, they went to scare people together. The first thing they did was go to the bakery to scare the head chef of Avatar World. Betty and Betsy came up behind her to unexpectedly scare her, and so Betty waved her raincoat in front of her and screamed, and the cook even jumped in fear. But the adventures of Betty and Betsy did not end there. After the bakery, the two of them decided to go to Betty's friends who were at Avery's house for a party. All her friends were dressed in Halloween costumes. Betty wanted to introduce her friends to Betsy. Her friends were very happy to have such a meeting, and they continued the party together with a new friend, with teeth that she gave them. Now I'm going to tell you the story of the fourth character you might have seen at this party. Avery made him a Frankenstein costume, and this character's name is Frank. Frank is one of the funniest, but at the same time creepy characters in this update. He loves to play slot machines on the third floor of the supermarket. His favorite slot machine is a racing car. But Frank has a little problem. When he enters the mall, he is simply not allowed there. Frank looks very creepy, so the guard constantly kicks him out of there. But Frank came up with a great plan to get into the mall bypassing the security guard. Frank continued until nightfall, and at night, he went to the mall. When Frank went inside, he saw that the guard had fallen asleep. Frank quietly made his way to the 3rd floor and played his favorite slot machine all night. Well, now I'm going to tell you the stories of characters that you might not even notice. However, they also appeared in the new update. There are only 3 of these secret characters, and now I will tell you the story of each of them. Let's start with a character in a werewolf costume. His favorite place for entertainment is a pet store. The name of this character is Ethan. He loves dogs, so he constantly plays with them in the pet store. But it has another very interesting feature. He can howl like a real wolf. That's why he dressed up in a wolf costume for Halloween. Ethan walked around the pet store and howled at the customers, who in turn were very scared. By the way, among these 3 characters, Ethan A has his complete opposite. This is a girl named Katie, and she's dressed up in a cat costume. Katie, unlike Ethan, is not scary at all. She doesn't like to scare anyone, but for some reason, they are still afraid of her. But I'll tell you Katie's story later. So Ethan, in addition to the pet store, often goes to the bakery because he loves the pies that are sold there. And one day, he decided to make fun of the visitors and scare them. But one of the characters he wanted to scare was Spike. Spike decided to take revenge on the wolf and scared him with his trick in return. Later, Ethan and Spike became good friends and recalled that situation with a smile. The next character from this trio whose story I will tell you will be a witch named Jessica. She dressed up as a witch for a reason. She has a magic broom that she usually sweeps the floor with. But on Halloween, she decided to use it as a flying witch's broom. Do you know how she learned to fly? The thing is that Jessica was an unusual witch. While most of the witches in the Avatar world were engaged in brewing potions or charms, Jessica had a unique talent. She could cast a spell on ordinary objects of her magic. Her most favorite creation was a broom, which she used to sweep the floor in her cozy house. With a meaningful smile, Jessica mounted her broom and took off into the night sky. She hovered over the city, watching the glowing windows and colorful decorations that decorated the houses for Halloween. The people below admired her flying and believed that they were seeing a real witch from a fairy tale. When Jessica landed, all the spectators were delighted with her flight, and for them this day will be unforgettable. Well, it's time to tell you Katie's story. Katie, like I said, wore a cat costume for Halloween. She doesn't really like scaring people on Halloween. She likes to dance and have fun on this holiday more. But one day, she still decided to scare one person. It was a cool, moonlit night, and the Halloween atmosphere was felt everywhere. Katie couldn't resist the temptation to play an innocent joke on someone. She conceived a plan to surprise her best friend Avery by pretending to be an ordinary cat. As soon as Katie approached Avery's room, her heart began to beat with excitement. With a well-crafted loud meow, Katie very plausibly portrayed a cat, which greatly frightened her friend. At first, Avery even jumped in fear, but then she recognized Katie and they both laughed at this Halloween joke.